What's up, everyone? Carmine Danisco here. The Shark Tank Effect show is in the house. We got a great guest coming on. We've had some awesome shows this week, this year. This episode is going to be just as good when we bring on the king of manufacturing himself, Mr. Christopher Guerrera. What's up,
Carmine,
Chris?
what's happening, brother? Hey, the feedback has been great. Really has
Yeah.
been great. A lot of good information, right? It's from really high-level professionals who have taken that journey of entrepreneurship and taken the dive of risk in life and have gotten really some good positive feedback and information for the folks trying to get involved in it. And it comes at no cost, right? Just everybody's time here who love giving back to the inventor community.
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny. I was at this little place called Revelations Cafe this morning, and a woman who's an inventor recognized me, started to tell me how much she enjoys the show. I was wondering, I was like, how does she know what I look like? And I forget that you launched the video portion or the video part of this show on Tuesday mornings. We put out the audio, but I forgot that it's on video too.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of good emails too. And our shows, right? Our educational shows are now really increasing. We're going to be in New York City next week for the Founder Made, and then we'll be doing a stage for them in Santa Monica in California in October. Yeah. So that portion of it's really, really big. The next big show for us is Super Zoo, but we've never had a guest on like the one we have on today.
Yeah.
Straight from the islands of Hawaii, Dr. Rob Yonover. I did say doctor. There's a doctor in the house.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just to clarify, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a science doctor. I worked on submarine volcanoes and got a PhD in geochemistry, volcanology.
Yeah, he's only got a PhD
before I came into full inventor.
Science. You know what I'm saying? He picked the easiest route.
No, it's all good. We all have varying backgrounds, but that background helped me think differently.
Hey, if you're going to study volcanoes, where better to go, right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So Rob, let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about you in Hawaii. Because you didn't always live in Hawaii, but you've been there for a long time. So let's hear about Rob, because I find your background to be pretty fascinating. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a surfer at heart. I grew up in Miami. The waves were 1 inch, very frustrating, and went through school and got an offer to get a PhD fully paid in Hawaii and work on volcanoes. And furthermore, work on submarine volcanoes off Galapagos and go down into the Alvin submersible, the same one that found the Titanic. So you're talking to one of the few people who have been 2 miles deep in the ocean. And that's where I got my samples, and I worked on them at NASA and MIT and UH. And wrote up a PhD on that. And while I was doing that, I invented a piece of survival gear, because in addition to being a surfer and a volcanologist, I'm a rough water fisherman. So I was always on the edge of dying. And I keep thinking about it. When I'm out there thinking about what could go wrong, I thought about being lost at sea or lost on the mountains. And when you're lost, your head's a little speck. So I thought, I got to make my head bigger it's already too big. Virtually, literally, so the guys can find you. And I came up with the long orange streamer to mark your position, and I patented struts in it, so it's like a centipede. It won't twist up, and it unfurls, marks your position from land or sea. And the Navy loved it because it was the only passive and discretionary device. You put it out there and it stays, or you can pull it in when the enemy comes out and redeploy it. And I worked to get the military to approve it. By the way, it's invented in the USA, made in the USA, sold from the USA to all the US military and out to the world. And it's now on SpaceX. So it's on the US-made aircraft to protect the astronauts. So I know one of the big themes is made in USA.
USA.
Yeah, exactly. USA. Exactly.
Man.
Well, we got the best inventors here. We got the best inventors and best innovators, and one of my tasks is to keep that going with the kids and all ages, really. I think we're losing that a little because of the whole smartphone, social media. People's brains are getting a little fried, but I like to keep people creative and absolutely go all the way on being innovative, problem solving, whatever field you're in.
It's called CCSEE Rescue Streamer. So tell us about that. How did you get involved? How did you make this thing in the USA? How did you get it going?
Okay, well, I was teaching at Hawaii Pacific University, and I just had to. First of all, I was struggling just to make money. Hawaii is an expensive place, as you can imagine. And my friend of mine flew. I was a grad student a few years earlier. We flew to a neighbor island in a rented plane, and it was sounded like it was going to crash. And I looked down and I saw all that water, and I said, "They're never going to find us. I can swim to shore, maybe, but the plane's going to sink." And I thought, I need a bigger target. And I flew to Florida. I don't know if you've heard of Christo, the artist. He wrapped these islands in Miami with pink plastic. And I think if I just hit a piece of that pink plastic, and it took me years to figure out how to put struts in it, because a long roll of plastic will curl up and twist up in the water or on land. But if you had spreader bars in it, like a centipede, I'm into biomimicry. So you look at how does nature solve the problem. In nature, segmentation is critical for your vertebrae, centipedes, palm trees. It makes it stronger. So that was the key. I was actually teaching, and I took some pipettes. You know what pipettes are from the chemistry lab, and I glued them on the streamer. And I took it out for a test run with my family. My wife said, "Stop playing with that piece of plastic and get a real job." And it all was crumpled up, and then all of a sudden it unfurled perfectly. And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is it." But this was 30 years ago. It was a long haul to get people. I basically started a whole new category on emergency signaling. And fortunately, the military was open to it because it was a big problem for them to be seen, because smoke signals, flares, sea dye, it all goes away. The streamer stays there forever. So first I got the military approvals, and I'm a bit of a media maniac. I really plug the media hard. And these are in the days of the fax machines, I'd wait till 11:01 at night. I don't know if you remember, you're not as old as me, but we'd wait till after 11. Then the phone calls were cheaper. So I would mass fax 100 different media people to tell them to write about this. And I finally got one Miami Herald to write about it. Then I took that and faxed that 100 times and kept doing that over and over, all the way up to Shark Tank. I'm always looking for press. So even the Shark Tank effect.
Hey, so you got this thing out, you got people to see it, right? How was it selling? Was it selling pretty good? But then you obviously you had to have some sales, right? Then you got the opportunity to go on Shark Tank. But talk about the sales side of it. This one, to me, this wouldn't be a really easy thing to sell, right?
No, it still isn't an easy thing to sell, because people don't care about safety till it's too late.
Yeah,
the military cares about safety.
Like Brandy says all the time, you don't care about it until you need it.
Right. I could sell these for $1 million each if you were lost at sea.
Right, exactly.
If you could go, someone lost at sea, and say, "Hey, you buy this?" Yeah, I'd want to buy it. But beforehand, you have to have the foresight. So the military has to be safe. So we targeted them first because they've trained their pilots. Their pilots are worth millions of dollars in training, let alone the life itself. We got some approvals with them. And again, working the media, I promoted the fact that it was approved by the Navy, did a business plan pitch, and a local paper wrote about it, the Pacific Business News. And then I got a bidding war for a licensing team, and I licensed it for 15 years. We got lobbyists involved, and we really built it up that way. And then we got all the military approvals, national stock numbers, I invented a self-deploying one for the fighter jets. So when the guy goes in the water unconscious, it goes out automatically. And got a big grant through the military to build that. So, and all the time in parallel, we're looking at the consumer market, but it's always been frustrating. And because, like I just said, people don't want to buy safety. And then finally, I started targeting women, because I think women are more safety conscious. Men are macho. They just want to buy another 6-pack for their boat. They don't think anything's going to happen to them, because they're, macho. I'm a cowboy and nothing's going to happen. But women seem to be more safety conscious, and it just keeps going. And even Shark Tank, 9 million people saw it. It still didn't explode in growth. And even the sharks, all 5 sharks loved it, thought it could save lives, and it already has saved lives. But they couldn't see how, to sell it any better than I could. And I disagreed with them, of course, but by promoting it, you can. But it's still a tough sell, selling it to the consumers, and ultimately it should be mandated. It should be like a seatbelt or airbag in a car. It should be part of a boat or a hiking kit. It's just a no-brainer.
I really love the whole concept of it. So talk about that with Shark Tank. So you had this product, you're trying to market it, right? Trying to sell it. So when did you think,
Right.
okay, I need to get it in front of millions of people. I need to get it on the tank. Like how did
Right.
that happen?
Well, I've been doing it for years. I'm a polite pain in the ass. If I want to be on your show or your magazine, I'm going to call you endlessly, politely. It took me 3 years to get in Outside Magazine. I got a Men's Journal, and I let them write it a little. They said Gilligan's Island would have been one episode if they had a streamer. So you let people do their thing. And 8 years ago, I guess, I was on Shark Tank season 8.
They could have been one episode.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been Gilligan's Island, which I love that. I mean, one of the things as an inventor, you can't micromanage everyone. So if you're good at copywriting, let them go. So Shark Tank's good at reaching the world, and they had an open call here for Honolulu, and I got up at 5 a.m. I wanted to get up early in the line, and I knew I had a lot of stuff because I had a great backstory, a volcanologist. My wife got sick. She passed away recently, but she was in a wheelchair, so I was a caregiver. I took care of her in a wheelchair for 19 years while raising my little kids. So I knew I had the good backstory, good life-saving. I've got patents, military approvals. It's already saved lives, have sales. So when I did the Shark Tank thing, they interviewed to get in line, I kept seeing the producer write in red stars, red star. And I knew I had a good shot. And as you know, it's a big, long process, but I figured more press, the better. And Shark Tank was built for me. I mean, I mix it up with those guys. I'm not afraid of them. I mean, it was stressful, but and they all liked it. It was just they didn't want to invest in it, but it was almost better because they all basically endorsed it on national TV. And then they rerun on CNBC. It's been on like 50 times on reruns. So and just recently, I'm not really on TikTok, but one of the Shark Tank people said, "Hey man, one of your videos is going off." They took my pitch from Shark Tank, put it on TikTok. It's almost 15 million hits right now. It's going crazy. I don't really know what to do with that, but it's kind of cool, and it's selling. Again, and I sell through Amazon to make it simple.
Yeah, that is cool. So tell me, how did you feel like when you got picked to be on the show? What was that like for you? I mean, obviously you got to do a lot of pitching, right? You got to set up the stage.
Yeah, I mean, it was very exciting, absolutely, and a lot of work. And of course, my brother, who's a marketing guy, said, "I don't know if you should do that. I've seen the show; they make fools of some people." I'm like, "They're not going to make a fool out of me." And I kept going back and forth with my producer, saying, what are the limits of what you can say? How much can you ask for? And I literally thought I would create a bidding war because I priced it really low because I was coming off the license deal. So the valuation was so much lower than they thought. And I blew their head off when they said, do you have any sales? They thought it was like a little college startup project or something. And I said, I explained it to them before and after. And you show those pictures of a person in the water from 500 feet before and after. You can't see him, and then you see a long orange line. It's very simple. And they got it. They respected it. But then they said, "You got any sales?" I go, "Yeah, 15 million." They're going, "What? Why are you only asking for $1 million or 200,000?" Because the license ended. I took it back to being a family company. So that's where it's like a rebirth. And I use that word. I probably shouldn't have, because it gave them an easy way to get out. Oh, it's a rebirth. It's too early. Anyway, it was an incredible process. And the one thing they did, they wanted me to memorize my pitch, and I can't do memorization. I'm a live guy. I feed off people I'm looking at your guys' eyes and seeing if you're tracking with me or not. And same thing in there. And once they let me loose and say, you can say whatever you want, I felt good, and it was great. I was in there a long time, and they loved it. I was disappointed though, and they even asked me after, "Are you disappointed?" I go, "Yeah, I can't believe they don't want to save lives, because it's already saved lives." And I figured all of them would want to pool up together, get this thing to be a standard piece of equipment for all life jackets or life rafts or boats or hiking gear. You know how many lives it could save? Because I gave the statistic, 7 people are lost hiking every day in the world, and 3 are lost at sea. So people are lost like every day. Someone's lost at sea or lost on land. So the numbers are there. But back to the original point, people don't prepare. They don't think it's going to happen to them. So how do you get over that? I'm still trying to figure out the magic potion of how do you convince people to buy something that they may or may not need. right? So that's
Yeah.
a frustration.
Rob, to your point, we used to joke, me and Brandy, we do a lot of hiking on Paris Mountain in Carolina. And there's
Right.
roads. I mean, it's almost impossible to get lost. But honestly, we went, we did probably 5-6 miles. And then we got to a point where we said, damn, should we take a left here or a right? Like we're not going to be lost, right? But I can see how that could really happen somewhere you're not familiar with. So we said, no, it's definitely a right. So we take a right and we'll walk another 5 miles. I'm like, okay, we're clearly not going the right way. Swear to God, we walked 16, 17 miles to a point where I told Brandy, like, I didn't prepare for today, right? I didn't have the right shoes on. She had boots on.
Right.
The next car I see, I'm getting out in the middle of the road and I'm stopping them. I said, I can't walk anymore. But,
exactly.
But can you imagine being lost in the woods? Like I knew there was help around, right? Worst case scenario. I'm not really lost. Can you imagine really being in the woods and really being lost?
Exactly. And people think nowadays with, Instagram and Facebook, everyone wants to picture themselves deep in nature. Well, if you go deep in nature, you're risking getting lost. And the thing that people don't understand is when you're lost, this is what most people, if you're lucky enough to live through being lost at sea or lost on land, the one thing people almost exclusively say is, why did you fly over me 3 times? Why didn't you see me? And the answer is your head is as big as a coconut floating in the water or as big as a rock. They can't see the target. You can see the helicopter. They can't see you. So to expand your target with a little device, the streamers are tiny. The little one is as big as a cell phone. So to have that unfurl for 25 and provide a long orange tail that's just consistent, it doesn't go anywhere. When they fly over, hey, what's that orange line? Oh, there must be a person on that. So yeah, it's a helpless feeling. And to be lost in nature, the other thing about being in like boats for sure, stuff breaks, electronics, your phone battery dies. You can't always rely on EPIRBs and locating devices. And even with locating devices, that brings you to the area, but they still need a visual. You talk to any search and rescue pilot, they always need a visual. They don't know what they're looking for. They have no target. So it's been
Rob, this is really a brilliant product. So what happens after Shark Tank now? So I can see this being a hard sell to a consumer, 100%. I can see that. And I guess probably the sharks probably saw a little bit of that too, but I could see this really being, like you said, like boats and all these areas of hiking and military. So what happens? You get out of Shark Tank, right? You got to go see a psychiatrist, right? They have this guy that talks to you, but you got to deal with it to make sure you're okay. Then what happens? What happened to your sales?
Right.
Did it blow up? Was it
well,
what you thought?
Well, definitely when it aired, it blew up for sure. And people were outraged that the sharks didn't invest, which was kind of funny. And some of the sharks had to write back on social media going, we love this product. We didn't invest because of this, or this, but we loved it. We know it's going to save more lives, which was cool. It was a great endorsement. And after, one of the things as a business guy myself is I like the freedom of being, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. We call ourselves Andre Manures, if you get the drift. We kind of, you have to keep pitching and you have to keep, you keep pushing. And I come from a family where we had a plaque in our house that said, just say no to real jobs. You want to be flexible. And that fit in with me being a surfer. And I have a bunch of other inventions. I don't want to be bogged down. And I started thinking about it. If I did get a deal, the sharks are going to be my partner. I'm going to have a business partner telling me what to do. Well, you got to move out of Hawaii. You got to move the factory to the mainland. You got to go to this show. You got to do this. You should do this. I'm too old to have a boss at this point. So I think ultimately it was a blessing. But it opened up all these potential PR moves, and I keep working them. And we, keep doing that. And ironically, it really helped with the military too, because Shark Tank is watched by militaries all over the world. So it gave me a nice bump there. And to this day, when I go to the military trade shows, I'm part of an international survival group, and all the militaries come together every year. It's a safe association. And from that, I thought it would be bad, but because my Shark Tank, they didn't really make fun of me like they could have. Again, it was a real serious product. They didn't have me on there to make fun of me. So I didn't lose any credibility. So that helped with the military. And it just, I keep just using it. I keep just looking for PR marketing tools, whether it's for the consumers or the military. But it's still, I mean, the thing I really wanted to do was to go for a mandate. And that's where Mark Cuban was like, oh, it's too much of a hit or miss. You may get a mandate, but you may strike out on a mandate. And then we spent all this time and money trying to get it, which is a valid point. So I think I'm just, you know the tortoise and the hare, right? The famous, I'm the tortoise. I'm not giving up. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm not giving up. I'm going all the way. I'll be doing this till I'm dead because I like the feeling of saving a life. And one of the guys thanked me that I saved his life. So that felt
I
great.
can only imagine just selling one of these and saving a person's life is all you need to do with something so
Exactly.
amazing as this. So what would you say,
Thank
Rob,
you.
if you had to look back at like your journey here, like maybe some things
Right.
you've done differently or pitfalls or something that you said, oh man, at the time it was the right move. Now it probably wouldn't be.
Right. Well, I think overall during Shark Tank, I shouldn't have said the word rebirth because I gave them an out because I told them, and I was just being honest. This is, I wasn't really a rebirth, but it was a potential start over in terms of how we approach marketing and promoting it and everything. But it wasn't a rebirth. The company was still chugging along at the same pace. That was the one thing I regret on that show. But overall, I think I did well because in my time of small kids and having a wife that was paralyzed, having a licensee helped me build it quicker and it gave me a team. I work well with teams, and the licensing team was fantastic. We were able to get 15 million over 15 years, and it enabled me to invent other things and keep the home front stable. So that was a good move. And then getting it back, I didn't want to run it myself. I looked for another licensee, and that was kind of when Shark Tank was happening. And my friend of mine that makes my surfboards, he said, "Hey, do you know how to make the streamers?" I go, "Yeah, I invented how to make them." He goes, "Well, why don't you just make them yourself and keep all the money?" I'm like, "That's a good idea." I was against it, but then I said, "I know how to make them. I'll just build a small factory setting, and that way the margins are better and it's cleaner." So that's what I've been doing. So it's kind of like you take whatever comes to you and then deal with it, right? You encounter a problem and you go one way or the other, and then you evaluate as you're going, and then you retool, recalibrate which way you're going, and then just keep going down the path. I mean, the whole thing I think is just keep the momentum. Even if you have setbacks, you got to keep moving forward and be creative. Even in the inventing world and in the business world of selling your inventions, it's still inventing. You have to invent a solution all the time, right? It never stops.
So let me ask you this with this whole product, right? So you did quite a bit, right? You've been around a long time with it. You've done licensing,
Right.
You got a taste of that. Now you got some launching taste. So when you developed this, did you actually get lost somewhere? Were you actually somewhere where you felt like, man, if I had something other than what you had in your hand to get you back to where you needed for safety, did that happen to you?
Not fully, but many times where I'm at the edge. I go fishing here 20 miles offshore in really rough water, and talk about feeling insignificant. You feel like a speck of seaweed out there. And I've had the motor break. Luckily, I had two motors. One time, another time I got tangled with line on the motors, cut my hand, so I'm bleeding 20 miles out, and one motor doesn't work. There's all these contingencies that have happened to me where I think I need this streamer. In fact, I've invented a whole suite of survival gear. I have a portable flotation device, a pocket desalinator, inflatable rescue board, video search and rescue device. So all my inventions, most of them, center around survival and dying. And it just seems like a simpler way to force you to think. And I like to, even though I wasn't fully lost, when I'm close, I think, okay, if this goes wrong, what do I do then? And they say in the military, when they train you, the number one survival tool, you know what the number one survival tool across all gear is? Your head. It's your brain. You've got to assess the situation and then make a move. So whenever you get in a bad situation, don't panic and don't rush. Wait a little while, think about things, and size up the materials at hand, and then go forward. And that's really helped me. And I don't like being lost at sea or lost on a volcano, but it's seemed to have helped me think clearly for problem
I can't even
solving.
imagine. You know, I love volcanoes. I love the whole history behind them. I
Yeah,
can't even imagine like hiking up to one of those things and checking them out. But
yeah,
and
it's
then on top
incredible.
of it, I'm running the risk of getting lost. Oh my goodness.
I know it's just, well, there's injury, getting lost. There's so many
Yeah.
things that can go wrong. But again, using your head and try to prepare with the gear you brought. And the thing that every time I was in that situation, I said, what gear do I have? And on a boat, you might have a flare, but if anyone's tried a flare, a lot of times they're duds. They've been in the boat too long. Salt water can ruin, the sun can ruin things. So a flare, a smoke, sea dye, all this stuff can go wrong. And even if it goes well, it's only a few seconds. I'm like, what if I shoot a flare and the plane flying over is just a passenger plane? They're not even looking for me and they don't even see me. That's it. That's my whole signaling device repertoire. I need more devices. I need more things to go for. And I'm also a primitive guy. I like to think about things that don't break, no moving parts. The streamer has no moving parts, no batteries, chemicals, electronics. That's what I like. And people that are in the survival, military, marine world appreciate that. I mean, my self-deploying one for the fighter pilots, that has some batteries and electronics, but the standard streamer, nothing can go wrong with it. That's what it's a
So I wanted to
positive.
ask you some of the different variations. So you have one that's just that opens up, right? It expands and it's orange, so it's bright. Then you have one with a light
Right.
in it. Is there one with a light as well?
Right. Yes. The ones, all of them now have chem lights. You snap them, and that gives you they have 2 to 4 lights depending on the size, and it has retroreflectors that reflect the moonlight or lights coming in. But the fighter pilots, the Air Force wanted one that worked by auto deploy, because when you eject out of a fighter pilot aircraft, it's very violent action, and usually you're injured. So they didn't want to have to unfurl it. So this one, you ever eaten rice paper candy that it kind of dissolves in your mouth? That gave me the idea of using a plastic that dissolves. We ended up working with an Air Force team, and we tied it in a pouch, tied with these little plastic ties that dissolve. It's the same material for the dishwasher. You throw it in the dishwasher and it dissolves. So that thing goes in the water, and within a half hour it dissolves. Instead of the streamer rolled up, it's Z-folded, so it unfurls automatically. A magneto switch pulls it off the light tube, which arms the light tube, which will only flash. There's a photo sensor in there. It'll only flash at night. It won't waste the battery if you eject during the day. And now that, and it'll flash on all night for 3 nights and off in the day. And that's a pretty cool one. And that's the that's the state of the art one. And that's more like closer to $1,000. The regular ones are under $100.
Come on, this might be one of the very first podcasts where I'm actually getting smarter during the podcast. Like I feel like I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
It's amazing though.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
You listen to the technical side.
Thank you.
And the technology, how
this is great.
Electronics can't stop you from being saved. There's so many things. This thing just works. That's what's so great about it.
Exactly. No, right. I'm anti-tech. I mean, I don't even have a smartphone. I'm into basic stuff, primitive, because I've met a bunch of lost at sea kind of guys. Louis Zamperini, the guy that was Adrift, and the guy that wrote Adrift. But Louis, he wrote anyway, he was lost for 73 days in a raft in World War II. And you start to learn from these guys. In survival situations, it's not about tech. It's about what's at hand. So even though I have a technological background, I like to invent primitive stuff with, whatever's around. And even my whole life, I would get hassled by my wife or family. Like, my one friend came to my house. He goes, "Don't you have one thing on your boat that you bought from a store?" And I said, "No, I make all this stuff." And he goes, he was putting me down. And I to me, that was a compliment. So, I think it's simpler is better.
Say, do you know who I am?
I love it. I love it.
Well, no, I mean, it's simpler. There's pride, just like being a young inventor or a young creator of any kind. If you write a song, write a poem, have an invention, build anything, there's pride in ownership and pride in creating it. And that's what I like to instill in little kids, is like, no, that's your idea. Good for you. That's cool. It may not look good. It's a rough thing, but I'm all about function over form. I don't care how pretty it is. If it works, that's the positive. And I think people get too hung up.
More things before we close out. So let's talk about
Okay.
So the last two things. Like you're making these in Hawaii now, right? So what is that like for shipping?
Correct.
And then I want to talk about volcanoes before we close the show.
Okay, shipping. Believe it or not, USPS, US Postal Priority Mail is the same anywhere in the country. So, and the streamer fits in a little envelope. I can get a couple in those. The other thing about inventing is invent something small, so you don't have shipping and storage problems. This streamer's tiny.
Yeah, if you get it in a small package under a pound, it's beautiful.
Right. I could send 20 of them in a UPS box to some of my reps. We get them in a 20 pack, and $20, so it's $1 a unit to ship them. It's nothing. And then DHL Express, I have a government account because I work with the military. I can send it anywhere in the world for very inexpensively. So that's been a real, but shipping in materials here to make them, that's another story. But it just has to go on the slow boat on a pallet container because we don't really make plastics here.
Right.
And so there's that. But other than that, it's pretty simple shipping out. Not a problem.
It sounds like
you can't do it overnight.
Yeah, a pretty cool system, and you got what a great product.
It works. Yeah.
Right, think about it, Carmine. We see a lot of products, right? I don't think we've ever seen one quite like this. This is really cool.
It's awesome.
Well, and the other thing is, again, go to SeaRescueStreamer.com or on Amazon. You look at the before and after pictures. And I invented it with those pictures in mind. Before I figured out how to use it, I knew that I would, for the next, and it's been 40, 30 years, I've been showing the same picture, before and after. You without it, big picture of blue ocean. You with it, blue ocean with an orange line.
Yeah, I saw
Which would
that.
you rather be?
Really demonstrates it.
Right.
I mean, you can visualize that, but until you see it, it's like you are.
Exactly.
You're right. You can see it up and no one sees you, especially the waves, right? You blend right in, especially if you're really out in the ocean. So I can't even imagine.
Exactly. And on land, same thing.
Well, congratulations on this, Rob. I mean, really, honestly.
Thank you.
And your background.
I appreciate that.
But I want to close this show with one of my favorite volcanoes. Tell me about these volcanoes. So you go into them.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I worked on submarine ones. I went down in the submersible. My good buddy is in charge of Mauna Loa on the Big Island. And years ago, we went to Kilauea, another volcano, and his business card reads, "If you can't feel the heat, you're too far away." So we would go up to him and take temperatures of him, and we'd stick a thermometer in there, 2,000 degrees.
Yeah.
And, I had my eyelashes were singeing and they're curling up. It's like opening an oven, but about 10 times that. And it's just awesome to see liquid earth pouring out and the temperature. It makes you talk about feeling insignificant. It's like feeling lost at sea because we're just specks. And one time we were up there and a guy that had been burned there, we were up there and it broke out and we had to get back to I had to go run back to get my camera, and the cone had broken out and all these guys were looking at it, a few of us, and they were on a little ledge, and I realized it was breaking out on the backside too. So within a couple minutes, the two rivers joined and we almost got killed. And it would have been a slow death because we would have been trapped on an island by rising lava. And then there's nothing to do. You can jump in and kill yourself or wait till it just kills you. So anyway, we avoided that.
Who has stories? This is crazy.
Man, my life is boring as hell.
Well, I didn't try to get in that position, but I like going to the edge. I like being. That's why the streamer thing's perfect. It's for people who go to the edge and want to come back. But the volcanoes are amazing. I can't even describe. I try to give you a taste of it.
Rob, here I am running in the woods, right? And I'll see these copperheads or diamond heads, poisonous snakes. I'll take photos of them. And my brother's like, "What are you doing, man? That thing strikes you, you're dead in 5 minutes." I go, "Come on, I have a camera. I'm not that close." I zoom.
Right.
You're that close.
Well,
you're that close. Yeah.
The closer, the better. But not to snakes, but to lava.
Imagine. Oh man!
It's good.
Seriously, Dr. Rob, you are the man.
Thank you.
I commend you for this. This is like something.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I think when Jackie first introduced us and I looked you up, I was like, wow. Then we had that conversation. Just you're a fascinating individual, and what you're doing to help people is just amazing.
Thank
And
you.
you've been doing it your whole life, really. And honestly,
thank you.
PhD in science.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel smarter after this podcast. Thank you.
Oh, thank you
Well,
guys. I
it,
really
man.
appreciate it.
Love it. Love it. Love the product. I love what it stands for. Love that you're actually saving people's lives. I mean, there's not too many products that are made that can say that.
Right.
Exactly. And it's easier to work on when you have a goal like that. It's so easy to be motivated. I'm as motivated as I was 30 years ago when I thought about it, even more so. And the more people that say, oh, this isn't good, or, even when Shark Tank, when they shut me down, I'm like, okay, I'll show you. And now it's on SpaceX. Elon Musk buys stuff from me. I don't buy stuff from him.
Right.
And, that's a nice little thing. And it's like, I want more. I just keep wanting to do it because it's a good,
Rob,
a good cause too.
You can see it, you can hear it, and you can feel it. The passion you have. It's clear as day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you live in a beautiful part of the world. Just to top it off.
Yeah.
Someone has to live here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Awesome.
I'm a surfer, so this is where the waves are.
All right.
Come visit one day.
We're going to close out the show. That was a truly significant show. Love it. Love the product. Love the man. Love the inventor. So cool to be doing stuff like that. For all you listeners out there, we thank you for tuning in. Please go on out, subscribe to the show, leave a message, a rating, however you can get this show in front of some other inventors, people who are thinking about going on Shark Tank, have been on Shark Tank, or thinking about inventing a product. And for myself, Carmen Danisco, for Dr. Rob and Mr. Christopher Guerrero, the king of manufacturing, we thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on the Shark Tank Effect. You all take care.